All right, I'm live. And it's Monday night. And it's 11 o'clock at night. So it's sort of midnight with Magoo. It's a little bit early, but it's there. I'm working on the schedule still. I told you guys, my name's Tori Chrisman, just for anybody new. I was in Scientology, the cult of Scientology, known as the Church of Scientology, but it's really a cult, for 30 years, believe it or not. And then I woke up in 2000. And hi, Marloka. And I wasn't going to speak out at all. I really wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to leave. Arrow 23, hi. Era. Hey. I wasn't going to say anything, but they chased me across the country and they were kind of shitty. Hi, love it. And I thought, you know what? I have a right to free speech too. Aaron, hi. Thank you guys for coming by. So I started speaking out, and that was in 2000, so that was 25 years ago. And I have been speaking. I've made over 1,000 videos, and now I'm not only, hey, Dawn, hi. I'm not only on YouTube, I'm on TikTok also. So there you go. So, but, I've been through a lot of stuff with them, and they've been relatively nasty to me most of the time. Hi, JB808. And they've scratched my car and broken my rearview mirror and done kind of creepy things. Aloha. Oh, that's right. You're in Hawaii. I'm so jealous. I love that. That sounds like a fun place to be. And he just came back from Japan too. So that's kind of cool. So anyway, here I am tonight. Thank you, Catherine Olson. I appreciate that. I really do. So, I started thinking about it tonight because the kids over on TikTok have been asking, like, why can't people just leave Scientology? And I thought, I should really make a video about it because it is one of those things where you should be able to leave. You should. But that isn't really how it rolls. It's kind of like they want to be thought of as a real religion. They told me that. I worked with them when I was in. And they said that's one of their main goals is to be thought of as a real religion. But in a real religion, if you don't want to do it, you can just walk out. I was raised a Catholic. And at 13, because the priest kept saying, Jesus Christ died for your sins. And I was like, no, hi, Jacob. I thought any God that is my God isn't going to talk to me like that. It really upset me. And so at 13, I just said, I'm done. I'm not a Catholic. And nobody turned on me. I didn't lose any friends. I didn't lose my family. Whereas in Scientology, I lost every single friend of 30 years and my husband of 26 years. I vacationed down in Clearwater a few weeks ago and was able to protest a flag on a Friday night. It was great. Good, Aaron. Good. Hi, YRB. I never bought that condemnation stuff either. I know. It's not really religious. It isn't. And I don't think it's the way God would ever speak to us. I just don't. I mean, if there is a God, and I believe there is, but if there is or isn't, is up in the air. And like I said to my roommate who was passing away of lung cancer, and I said, neither of us are really going to know until we're dead, and they will know. Good, Aaron. Cool. And Dawn also. I know there's a lot of Catholics. There really are. They get around. But I didn't stick with it at all. I left at 13 and that was it. And then I got into kind of Buddhism and Taoism and Eastern religions, and then became a hippie. And then from that, went back to college. And then these academics always say, no one joins a cult. Cults find you. And that's what happened. These two kids from high school came and said, here's a Dianetics book. And I said, what is that? And we started talking, and that was the beginning of it. What do you think about the Hulk Hogan situation that the wife is in? She's in Scientology, is she? I didn't know that. I don't. Well, there's a lot of people that go in Scientology and out of it. And they're always, always trying to rope in any kind of celebrity. I just had dinner with someone the other night, and he was mentioning that he was giving autographs at one of the conventions, and Scientologists were right there. And I said, believe me, they always will be, because that's what they want. They think, okay, this guy's got to know people that he's getting autographs. Let's see if we can get him in Scientology. Luckily, the guy way knows tons from us, so it didn't happen. But Jacob Harkey, hello. I read Dianetics, freaking crazy. I don't know how people think it was great. I know. My husband's parents got in 1950, and Hubbard had a way of, he had his own kind of charismatic way. It was weird, but it was, back in the 50s, it was very different. It was something different, and people are always looking for something different. Thank you, Lovett, for putting that there. When I had confession and was told a lie in order to go to church regularly, that's when I left. And I became a cheerleader in 5th grade. Yeah, exactly. That was kind of like me. Same kind of thing. It wasn't when I had confession and was told to lie. Wow, who told you to lie? That's kind of freaky. I know they have their own downfalls for sure, but they're not as bad as a cult. And people oftentimes will try to say all religions are cults, and that's not true, because cults are very different. They're very defined. It's like they have a leader. They don't have a higher power. Like L. Ron Hubbard. I remember Tommy Davis saying, you're interrupting my faith. And I went on the internet and typed in, I said, your faith? Your faith in what? What is your faith, Tommy? I want to hear it. Who do you have faith in? L. Ron Hubbard? Is that who you have faith in? It's like they don't have faith. They don't have faith. They don't have a belief. And they basically, if you want to leave, there's 2 things that can happen. The priest told you to lie? Wow, that's spooky. That's really spooky. I don't know. I think he's in Texas. That's what I heard last. Tommy Davis. He was a guy that was around for a while when the BBC, John Sweeney was here, and he was here to handle John Sweeney, and he kind of blew it. So he left. That was it. Hi, Kim White. Welcome, everybody. So that's wild, though, that the priest told you to lie. That's kind of heavy, really heavy. For me, nobody told me to lie, but it was just so creepy the way they treated me. And it was just like, no, I really don't believe anyone that's comes under the term God or Jesus or higher power would talk to anybody like that. It's just not right. He's in Dubai or somewhere around there. Wow. Interesting, Catherine. That I did not know. What's he doing there? I am who you say I am. Hi. I just checked your channel an hour ago and figured you were too busy. I'm never too busy for you guys. That's why I came tonight. I was thinking, I'm kind of tired and you guys don't really care, and I don't think so. And I thought, no, Tori, I think some of them might be there. Just start it up and see if somebody comes. And thank you guys for coming. Thank you. I'm happy you're here. It is hot. It's 102. Wow. Yeah, it was very hot here too. It's been really hot. But I've been making it through it all right. But I'll tell you one thing. I always say this. I say it every year. It's like when it's winter, I can't wait till summer. And then about a month after summer really hits, when it gets really, really hot, I'm just like, bring on the fall. I can't wait. But, I grew up in Chicago and I love fall. Fall in Chicago is wonderful. It just is. It's so magical and charming, and there's so much delicious food and fun things. I mean, one of the things, I think it was in the 90s, we went back there, and it was around Halloween, and these huge skyscrapers had these giant scarecrows hanging all the way down the skyscraper. I said, that's Chicago. You'd never see that here. Fall is the best. I know. Fall is my very, very favorite. Spring is second, fall and spring. And then I love winter for a short time. And then it's sort of like this, where I'm like, okay, I love winter, but in Chicago, it's great while it's snowy. And then when it gets slushy, it's like, all right, let's get rid of the winter. A thirsty little bat joined me in the pool today. Wow, I had to fish it out. That's amazing. Yeah, I was just writing about that somewhere, going, I think it was on Facebook, and I wrote a thing in someone's, they were talking about stuff. And I said, you have to have compassion when things are really rough, for all the animals. We were talking about fires, that was it. And they were saying you have to have compassion for the people that were affected by the fires. And I said, but also the animals and birds and all the living things that are in a forest when it burns, it's a lot. Winter in LA, I know, Aaron, it seems like an oxymoron, doesn't it? It really does. Okay, YRB, you're heading out. I just have to put myself on night shift in this kind of weather. My daytime energy is just zero. I think a lot of people, that's very true, especially if you have humidity. Then it's really, really hard to get around. I remember getting into Clearwater and just opening the doors of the plane flying in, and it's air conditioned and everything. And then they open the doors and bam! Even in wintertime, that humidity hits you, and it's so awful. Love it, you're so lucky. Now, what is love it lucky about? I missed it. About being able to swim in the pool. Yeah. Yeah, very true. She's a good girl. Fall's my favorite too. I can't wait. I know. We're almost there. I mean, it's gonna. It's gonna be hasn't the summer gone like, just like so fast? It's amazing. It really is. It was so cute. I bet, love it. That is really something. I bet it was happy that you let it swim in there. Same, Hannah. I think I'll decorate early. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Some people already have decorations out now. It's one person has their entire house, from like the street level all the way up 2 stories of decorations and stuff. It's really wild. Really wild. Wow. Yeah, I have a lot of Halloween stuff too. I used to have a funny thing years ago. Wait a second. Let's see. I was in Clearwater the week Jenna was there, and it was so hot. I told her, how do people live here? Humidity was insane. Yeah, I know when it's hot, it's awful. And that humidity. I am who you say I am, LOL, Tori. I didn't even know what humidity was until I traveled to the East Coast. I was miserable. I had to come back west. It's hilarious. People complaining about humidity here. I know it is. We're like wimpy when it comes to that stuff. But you forget because we haven't been around it in so long. Hey, hi Jennifer from Mississippi. How is it hot there too? I think you have humidity also in Mississippi. I believe so. I think so. Hi, Antics of a Mama Squirrel. Hello. Hi, Connie B. It's hotter. Oh, Glenn, hi. It's hotter than the saunas are in Fira. Yeah, but you have to stay in those forever. At least we can go in air conditioning here. I always tell people every day here while I'm in LA, because this was usually always true for me. I was so thankful for working in the summer because it's free air conditioning. And it's very expensive here. Air conditioning is very, very expensive. So it was like I was happy to work. And every time I tell anybody that, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. And they kind of cheer up because, work is work, but they cheer up. JB808, how have you been? What have you been up to these days, you rascal? All right. And LA people complaining about winter. Hey, give us a break. It is. It's wintertime. No, it's summertime now. But when it is winter, it's cold. When it gets cold, you come out here in the wintertime. When the sun goes down, that's what happens. It's not really winter, like if you know the four seasons. But when the sun goes down, even Drew now is like, yeah, I'm bringing my coat, because the sun goes down and it gets cold. It's like, ooh, it's not like winter, but it's cold. I have had 100 plus heat indexes. Yeah, I know. We have two. Kim White, I'm in Virginia Beach and the humidity is bad, but at least it's not Florida. I know Florida is the worst. Professor Tanya Rib Guy Becky Khan. Now that's funny, Professor Khan. Hi, Antics. Howdy to you. God bless the air conditioning. I know we talk about it. Can you imagine in the old days? I have a fan. I've really gotten into these fans. This was such a great thing. This lady had, it was like a wedding shower. And afterwards, you could go, she bought all these flowers. So they were like fresh flowers. And you could pick a whole bouquet, make your own bouquet. And then she gave us all fans. So everybody had fans. And now at the wedding, her wedding was out in a hangar, which is because they're pilots. She and her now husband are pilots. And so they had the wedding in a hangar, which was so fun. It was really, really different. They had planes there and everything. It was really cool. But I brought my fan. And I was like, oh, thank God. They really have fans. You'd be surprised. I went to the mall tonight and I got out my fan and these people were like, they were older people and you could see they said, wow, I haven't seen a fan in years because people don't usually use them anymore. All right, humidity capital of the world, Houston, Texas. Ooh, in August. I live in Denver. Let me tell you about winter. Yeah, I hear you on that one. I grew up in Chicago. I know winter also. Yeah, my midnight, we a bit early with Magoo. Hi, Mark. Chatters and lurkers, like, subscribe, chat, share, set notifications to all. Good. Thank you very much, Professor Kakan. Glenn Payne. By the way, I walked past the Hollywood Center last week and some girl was outside trying to give me a Dianetic flyer, and I told her, I'm gay. You don't want me. I'm 1-1. And she said, they accept gay people. I know that happened to us Friday night. Drew and I were out protesting at the complex, and these three guys came by, and I said, don't ever get into this. And they said, oh, hell no. And they said, they just tried to get us in there. And I said, really? What happened? And he said, we just told them we're gay men. She just walked off. They're so anti-gay, but they try to pretend like they're not. Accept and then try to convert. Right, exactly. And it's not just convert, it's pay. I mean, Michael Pattinson paid $100,000 to fix he being gay. And then he died. Shame, really a shame. Antics of a Mama Squirrel is saying hi to Kakan. I am who you say I am. How cute with the fan. I know, see? I mean, they're very old. It's very old school, but I really like them. She said, take as many as you want, because a lot of people didn't take them. So I took one. There's this one, which is like purple. I don't know if you can see the color. See? There's that one. And then I have a pink one in my purse, and it'll check this one out. Woo! Now that's fancy, huh? My fan. Isn't that pretty though? And isn't that a sweet idea? You pick your own flowers. I mean, you don't pick them. She brought them in. They're already picked, but you can make your own bouquet with whatever kind of flowers you like. And then you get the fan. And I don't know, there were a few different things that they had, but I thought, what a cute idea. It really was. Hi, Jacob. Professor Khan, Rib Guy, Becky Khan. Arrow 23, gender identity isn't Smith that can be easily changed. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Dawn, oh my God, Glenn, she didn't even catch. I didn't catch it, of course I did. Oh, you mean the girl didn't? No, it depends on who you run into in Scientology. At one point, I have a really dear friend, Andrew, who's the person who turned me on to live streaming with Jessica Palmadessa. And he's gay. And he has a ton of gay friends, and I've been to parties with them, and they're really nice people. And so Scientology, this was a few years ago, was trying to say, oh, we're totally open to gays. Everyone is welcome. So I called up Andrew and I said, Andrew, I just want you to spread the word that this is what they're trying to say. It's total bullshit, as you know. And believe me, they got it around LA. Those guys have a network that's incredible. And they got it out like that. You know, it's like Scientology. You can run, but you cannot hide, David Miscavige. I said that for a long, long time to a friend of mine who finally passed away. I miss him to this day. Okay, off to sleep. Just had to say hi and good night. Good night, antics of a mama squirrel. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. Right now it's 79 degrees with 88% humidity. That's not too bad though, Connie, right? 49ers for life. Hey, how are you? Hi and bye, antics. Good one, Aaron. Tori, can you tell us a story about the last time someone from Scientology tried to talk to you in a serious way? It's been a really long time since someone from Scientology tried to talk. They don't try to talk to me. I mean, I don't know if they have pictures of me up in their orgs and stuff like that, but no matter where I go, they go, I've got Tori Chrisman here. You know, remember, this is what they're saying. CIA. That's what they told that guy. Remember? I don't know if all of you were here, but they did. They told this brand new guy that was going to give him $5,000. Most people start with $40. He was going to give him $5,000 for auditing. And I said, be careful. They lie and they hate me. And he came out and he was just white as a sheet. And I said, what? And he said, wow, they really hate you. And I don't know why they do. I mean, I tell the truth, and I've been speaking out. I mean, they have tried to stop me from speaking for 25 years, and I've persisted. So I think that's why they hate me. But these kids, they don't know why why I'm so evil, except that they say I'm evil. But, you have to think, now, wait a minute. You who are watching this, Osa, you've never even heard my real side of the story. I know how you are. If I'm talking, you're not listening. I know that. It's just like, shut down. But you know what? That's not freedom. It's not. It never will be. It never was. And no matter how many levels you do in Scientology, you will never, ever be free with that. And I always say, come on out. see us, meet us, join the group. And, what's the worst that happens that you go, I don't really like these people. Okay, go back. But I could almost promise you, I would put money on it. You won't go back. If you come out, you're not going to go back. And that's not because we won't let you. They won't let you. That's the thing. What if you want to leave? Here's the real deal if you want to leave. Wait a second. Let me just catch up here. Fan fueling over here, over there. All right. I'm digging the blue fan. Me too. I know, JB808. That's a really cool one. This is the first time I actually opened it up. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's really pretty. See, it's both sides. Really pretty. And it was kind of funny because a lot of people didn't take them. And I thought, I'm taking them. And I have one couple here, and I have one in my living room, one in my purse. I'm using it. How chic. I need to get some. And they have them on Amazon, just so you know. You can buy fans on Amazon. Thank you, JB808. I agree. On the subject of being gay, we gays will die trying to bring fans back. You mean you'll die? You mean you're for fans or you're against fans? I think you mean you're for fans. Will die trying to bring fans back. Does that mean she's for fans or she's against them? Someone help me. Tension tamer. All right. Tori is a fan dancer. It's true. I could do it with I could get both of them going. And then we'll see if YouTube will make it the dun 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 dun. Now the blue one's way better. See? That's the two fans, but how fun. So pretty. Thank you. I agree. Love the purple. Thank you. Fangirling over there. Aunt thinks you came back. All right. Purple is my favorite color, and blue is my second favorite number. Wow. We're same to same in lots of ways. Good, Dawn. Smith. Oh, is something. Okay. Love it and antics. Good night, Mama Squirrel. Dawn Lambert, the color. Okay, Carmen Sandiego week with the hat. Ooh. With the hat. Oh, with my hat? With my CIA hat? Can you believe they told that guy told, I called him the next day and I said, what did they say about you? Because he said, wow, they really hate you. And I said, what exactly did they say? And he kind of lagged for a minute, and then he said, well, they said you're an undercover CIA agent. And we both I burst out laughing, and then he started laughing too. I said, you're not going to do it, are you? And he goes, oh, hell no, I'm going to Japan. He's a wrestler. So he was heading out for that. Beat me to it, Glenn. Ha ha. All right, let's see. What did Glenn do? Okay, Carmen Sandiego work with the hat. Okay. Mention ignorance is a problem. Oh, intentional ignorance is a problem. Yep, that's very true. I don't know that it's intentional ignorance, though. It's a lot of with a cult is you get in, and it is like the Truman Show. That's why I mention it so many times, because it's just sort of like very quickly, you don't realize it, but very quickly they weed out anyone that's against Scientology. So any of your friends, family, anything like that, and pretty soon your core friends are all Scientologists. That's it. And so it's kind of like your head becomes in the sand by just staying there. It's very tricky. You hand a fan like that to a kid these days, and I bet they wouldn't even know what to do with it. Well, that's true for a lot of things. You hand them a phone. like this. They don't know what to do with it. For fans. Good. All right. You're 4 fans. I am who you say I am. I kept one of those fans as a gag, but was so happy to have it when my electric one pooped out. Yeah, exactly. They're really functional. You should have seen the people in the mall today. They were sort of like, a fan, because everyone was hot. It was like, it's too big. This is the Burbank Mall, and it's just too big to air condition. So it was sort of like people were in there, but it was hot. But I had my little fan, and I'm fanning away, and they're all kind of, you could see them kind of going, oh yeah, fans. Hi, Eric from Culver City, California, and my parents say hi. And you tell them I said hi back. Thank you, love it. Again, I appreciate it. Glenn Payne, what actually happens at the Celebrity Center? Do people live there? Is it full? Pass it all the time, but never see anyone. Not really. A lot of the main big celebrities, I mean, there's still Tom Cruise and John Travolta, but you never see them. I mean, John Travolta lives in Clearwater. So, and Aaron Smith-Levin, who protests on Friday night, has filmed him. So, we know that he is. And I've seen his pictures of his house there, and he has an airport there, and his planes are there and stuff like that. Tom Cruise lives, I think he might live there too. I forget. I think he might. Anyway, what happens at Celebrity Center, a lot of the main celebrities have either passed away or left. And there's a few that are still there. But they do the courses and auditing the same as everywhere else. It's for artists and musicians. It was started originally for artists and musicians. And it was wonderful. I was there in the beginning, and it was fabulous. It was really a fun time. Because, there were all these brand new up and coming artists who ended up being terrific. But it was just neat to be around them, musicians and guitarists and comedians and just all kinds of people. Yvonne ran it. Yvonne Gentz, who's Janice and Terry Gilliam's mom, and Peter Gilliam. And she was wonderful. I mean, I've never, ever, ever met anybody who didn't love Yvonne. She just was a very inclusive, loving person. And she started Celebrity Center, and, it was down on 8th Street. I don't know if you know LA at all, but it's kind of a real divey area. And it was so much fun, though. We were all like a bunch of, not all, but a lot of us were hippies. We'd been hippies. And so it was sort of like, it had a real hippie vibe to it, I think. Now, other people say, oh, no, that wasn't it. And it's like each person had their own thing. But, we ended up, it was like this little place. But Yvonne wanted to get a rug, but we couldn't afford a rug. So we went and got all kinds of, pieces of rugs and put it together. I forget what you call that, but it's a whole like patchwork quilt. Not a quilt, but it's a rug. But anyway, it was really bright and fun, and the whole place was neat. It was really cool. And it was swimming with Scientologists. I mean, now it's so different now to have been there. And then now it's just unbelievable. It really is. And the testing center has become a tourist trap for these TikTok kids. They fly in to do these little TikTok routines. Shannon. I mean, Drew and I pulled up Friday night, and the doors are shut, and all of a sudden they open up, and out come these kids. And I think, oh, they got some kids. No, they all burst out laughing. And I said, TikTok, right? And they, yeah. And then right away, another 3 or 4 guys come up, and they start yelling, Shannon, open the door, Shannon. And I said, you guys are with TikTok, right? And this other kid comes over to me and goes, I know you from TikTok. And I said, yeah, I was in it for 30 years, believe it or not, and escaped out. So anyway, it was kind of fun, but it like Jessica told me, you can stay there all day, and there's people there coming from TikTok to film their nuttiness. National treasure. Yes. Mark Bunker. We're national treasures. It might be a good thank you, Aaron. It might be a good opening question when speaking to a Scientologist. How many people do you know who aren't Scientologists? Good one, YRB. That might be, except the unfortunate thing is Hubbard had a thing called the acceptable truth, which is basically you can lie about anything. Because as long as it's the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, and there's 8 dynamics, so there's survival of yourself, survival of your family, your group, all of mankind, matter, energy, space, and time, animals, and all living things, and then the higher power, whatever you believe that to be. So, and all those areas, if it's the greatest good for those 8 dynamics, then it's okay for you to, he doesn't say lie, but he just says say an acceptable truth. So, you could say, how many people do you know who aren't Scientologists? If you'd asked me, I'd say tons. Because I did from work, because I worked at a place that wasn't a Scientology place a lot of times. So I knew people all over LA. Were they friends of mine? See, that would be a better thing. How many people do you know who aren't Scientologists? And how many friends do you have who aren't Scientologists? But even still, it would be an interesting thing to see. Tom and his Tom's sister have an apartment across the street from Flag. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I'd heard. They're in the Superpower building. That's what I think. But the black across from Cece on Franklin is so cute. Oh, the block. Love the restaurants and the comedy theater and the ice cream comedy theater and the ice cream at Van Owen, I think it is. But I sit outside and stare at Cece. It's creepy. Yeah, there's not too much going on there. However, Tom currently is traveling abroad. Aha. Maybe he's going to see Tommy Davis. I believe that you are not going to tell the big time celebrities that they can't visit the internet, and that's a big problem for Scientology. You have to understand something, Sieglin. They never tell anyone you can't look at the internet. It's a matter of learning the tech, and that you can certainly look at the internet if you want, but it's going to dramatically slow down how fast you get free and OT. So that's up to you. And so most people go, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going to look. It's just sort of like they've already filled in your head that everything on the internet is filled with lies and twisted information, and it's not correct. So what would be the point of looking at it? It's only going to slow you down. You're going to have to do more sec checking, which is what kind of overts have you committed against the church or LRH or Miscavige or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So people kind of self-censor themselves in Scientology, where they themselves will go, nah, I don't think so. They might send them to ethics, and even if it's a big celebrity, and say, are you thinking about, looking at certain sites on the internet that might be destructive to you? And the person would say, well, not really. So, okay, good. But if they said, well, yeah, I kind of want to look around. It's like, well, let me show you a few examples. And they bring out all kinds of shit that's not really what happens on the internet, right? But it looks awful. And you're like, ugh. And they go, do you really want to cruise around and spend time with that kind of stuff? And you go, no. And they go, okay, good. That's it. End of story. Hi, and great point. Yeah, it is a good point, Sieglin. Believe you're not going to tell the big celebs. Nah, you're not going to tell them. No, you're right on that. But I do think it's built in from way early on when they get in. That's why the academics say the 2 worst cults are Scientology and the Moonies. And I said, why is that? And they said, because they build in traps in your mind from day one that you can't look or talk to other people and find out facts. That's a fact. That's Scientology. That's keeping Scientology working. So if anyone's listening to this, you can leave if you want to leave. See, part of it is they'll send you to ethics and say, it looks like you're in doubt. So what's going on? And you have to do the doubt formula. So there's that. The other one is, let's say you say, no, I've done all the ethics conditions. I still want to leave. Well, then you have to do the routing form to route out of Scientology. And that is a whole nother thing where you have to go to this place and that place and this place and that place. And everyone has a way of roping you back in. It's true. I never tried to do it. I never tried to route out, but I just left because I know how it is. It's like, no, you're not going to route out. They hold bogus acting seminars. That's correct, with Nancy Cartwright. There, they spend a lot of time convincing and trying to convince young people to join Scientology at the Celebrity Center in Burbank or the Valley. Child modeling. Ooh, I haven't seen that. They don't have a Celebrity Center in Burbank. Celebrity Center is in Hollywood. Unless there's a new one, fill me in if there is. Because they have the on Burbank Boulevard is the Ideal Org, but that's not a Celebrity Center. The Valley Child Modeling, that's probably there. All right. When I was in Clearwater, we took a boat tour, and they pointed out where Tom Cruise lived at the Scientology buildings. Wow. Was it a Scientology boat tour, or just that's part of Clearwater now? Probably people want to know where he is. Thanks, Troy. I wasn't aware of that. You weren't aware that they build in self-censoring? Oh, yeah, that's a big part of it. That's why the academics say the two worst ones are Moonies and Scientology, because they build in those traps really big. And it's with Scientology, you're never going to go free. You know, that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to hang around with these evil people, you will never get free. And in your mind, you start adding up how much money you've spent whenever you got off the track, and it's too much money. You can look at the internet. It'll just maybe kill you. I don't think I said that, but I don't think it'll kill you, but it'll stop you from going free. As a fan of Tom Cruise's movies, I hope he gets out of Scientology and stops acting so weird. 49ers for life. I hear you on that one. I do. I don't think you're alone on that one. I'm a fan of his early movies. I don't really like his later ones so much, but I am a fan of his early ones, like A Few Good Men and The Firm. I thought those were. I really had a hard time believing that he stayed with The Firm. It was so much like Scientology. It was just like, how could you make this movie and not? And there's that other one, I can't remember it. It's another one, but it's also another really good one of his. You know, where he goes on that island and he screws that girl. Or that's part of the Firm. Yeah, that's part of it. What about the Net Nanny? What about it? The Net Nanny was something that Miscavige in around 2000 had a huge event. And he said, look, the internet is here. We all need to come up to speed on it. So we've got computers all around. Everyone sit down, type up your story, and we're going to get you onto the internet. And so you type up your story, and they pop in all these links, which we didn't know what hyperlinks were then. This is in 2000. So they put in all these. It might have been before 2000. I think it was. It was in the 90s. But anyway, it was right near 2000. And they put in all these hyperlinks, which is Narcanon, Criminon, Way to Happiness, all their front groups. And then they give you a disc and they say, here, go put this on your computer. And you're like, why would I put that on my computer? And they're like, you don't think your story is important? People are going to want to know. They're going to want to talk to you. And you're like, oh, okay. So I put mine onto my computer, not knowing that what it actually does is blocks out everything that they consider N theta. And theta is supposedly destructive theta. Theta is like you or me, we're just like spirits. But N theta is like bad news. And the truth is, their N theta, for the most part, is facts that they don't want you to know. So it blocks out all the facts. So you only see a piece of blue sky. That's it. Now, because I was working with my auditor, Bill Yachty, and back then I thought my best friend, he came over and I had just bought an IBM computer. And he said, look, I've got to take something off your computer. And I said, what would you have to take off my computer? I just bought it. And he said, well, and he explained it in a technical way that it would be safeguarding me against these evil people and blah, blah, blah. And so he probably put a link so that he could always see what I was doing. That's what I think. But he said he was taking it off. And he took off something so that I could poke around. I didn't much. The only thing was that back then, someone had a copy of the Knots materials, which is like OT5. And they were asking people, if you have a copy of it, can you send it to me? And so he wanted me to find out who was asking for that and let him know. I never found anybody. So I really didn't do anything with them. I did it with myself. Aaron, Tori, I did know Paul Haggis. Yeah, when I was in, I did. And I knew his wife. Hi, Tori. Glad to see you here tonight. Hi, June. Yeah, same. Is it true that they keep you on the free wins until you donate thousands and thousands of dollars and then they finally let you off? No. You have to pay ahead of time thousands and thousands of dollars to get onto the free wins. If you want to, you first of all, the main people that go to the free wins are people doing OTA. And that is a big expense. And you have to pay that ahead of time, not while you're on there. Now, they may ask for donations while you're on there, but it isn't like thousands and thousands of dollars because you've already paid that to get onto OTA. So they know they can only push someone so far, and so that's my understanding. My husband was OTA, and so that's my understanding of it. It was just a random dolphin seeing boat trip. Oh, cool. They do the child modeling classes at the org. Yeah, on Burbank Boulevard. That's what I thought. That's the ideal org for Burbank Boulevard, which is always empty. 49ers for life. Top Gun. Yep, I love Top Gun too. That is. And I went to that bar too. Bunker took me there. It was really fun. It was really fun to see the real bar that they filmed that in. It was in San Diego. It was really cool. No one. Okay, 1993 to 1994. All right, there you go. I Am Who You Say. Is that when the net nanny thing came out? I think it was later than that, I believe. But that's a good one to check. I am who you say I am. I don't think John Travolta or Tom Cruise are believers. I think they get a lot of money and cycle it around through Scientology. Well, I'm not going to say for them. I don't know. I can't say. I really can't. They might be, they might not. But they're definitely cycling around money, that's for sure. Maybe 92. I'm not sure, no one, what you're talking about, but I know that the net nanny was way closer to 2000 than what you're saying. So if you're talking about the net nanny, it isn't that early. L. Ron Hubbard had no idea that so much information would be so readily I know. I used to always say that. If he was so OT, why couldn't he perceive the internet and do something about it? That was early versions. Okay. All right. L. Ron had, but I'm talking about the event where they had the big mass event and everybody did their, and they gave us the disc and everything like that. I'm talking about that. L. Ron Hubbard had such a unique aura. I guess so. He did. He was an unusual cat. Tension tamer. I imagine T. Please take a moment to hit the like button. Thank you, love it. Sieglin. Right, Aaron G. For all of his knowledge of advanced civilizations in the past. I know, it's just so weird that, I mean, I still to this day, something happened 2 nights ago, and oh no, last night, and they had it turned out it was a milk truck, but they thought it was, some kind of explosive truck, and this guy had stolen it and was racing around downtown LA and everything. And I said to my friend, where are the OTs? If they really had OTs, they would be able to stop that, but they don't. And they never can. They can't for tornadoes. They can't for, it's like, but they never question it, and I did all the time when I was in. It was like, well, wait a minute. If these guys are OT, why can't they do blah? And they lie and they say, oh, we can. We already did. We fixed it. Like if the tornado goes around Clearwater, they'll go, well, that's because we went in session and fixed it. And because you're a little bit delusional, you're like, oh, okay, I better get to be OT. Thank you, Era. Did I say it right? Era 23? Thank you. Thank you for liking it. Tension Tamer. I can only imagine the super obsolete, simple tracker they must have installed on your IBM. Same primitive key tracker. How tech savvy could that possibly be? I have no idea. I mean, I got a new computer as soon as I left because I didn't trust them. His teeth were awful too. Ooh, that is so true. That was a big turnoff to me right way in the beginning. I am who you say I am. Thanks. I am curious about your thoughts regarding Cruz and Travolta. Yeah, I know I've run into John after being out, and he came up to me when I was in, and we were there, guarding to make sure nobody got to him. And he gave me a big hug and said, I'll never forget you and Vicky. And then I saw him another time at a movie theater when I was out, and he gave me a big hug there. And he's just a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I can't say the same thing for Tom Cruise. I really don't think Tom Cruise, I know he can be a nice guy when he's on set, but I also know people who've worked for him and he wasn't nice at all to them. So it just depends. But I think I have my own opinion of it, but it's like, it's just an opinion. That's all. So I'm not even going to get into it. Aaron G, what were your experiences with Elron? I forget. No, I never met him. You only meet him online via tapes, and back then you had to, we had the tape, they had they were like tapes and the tape machine, and you had to wear headsets and everything. And I didn't know this and I never did it, but a lot of people sped it up because he's such a blabbermouth. So people would speed it up so it went faster. I didn't know you could do that. But my husband met him when he was 5. He met him in person. And I think he's what solidly is keeping him in, even though Hubbard's dead, but he really liked him. And, that was his thing, was like, he's there because of Hubbard, not because of Miscavige. He never really liked Miscavige. There you go, Davey. Your OTA didn't like you. A lot of OTAs don't like you. And a lot of them have left. A lot of OT7s have left too. That's because it doesn't work. And you guys know it doesn't work. And you keep taking more money for it, saying this will fix it. And you know it won't. If it would, you would come up with OT9 and 10. But you've already gotten rid of all the people that were smart enough to create 9 and 10. So now you're just kind of screwed. And that's how it should be. That's the way it should be. You've screwed everybody else, so there you go. Just saying hi. Now what, where? Yep, you said it right. Oh, good. And hi, now what, where? Wow, that's good. I love how Scientology believes they could handle natural disasters, but they run away from protesters. Exactly. Thank you. And I love this was a big wake up call for me when I was in still. I started realizing now, wait a minute. Whenever something's good, Scientology did it. Whenever something's bad, you did it, Tori, or somebody else, or a celebrity, or it didn't matter. It had to be, it was an individual Scientologist if it was bad. If it was good, it was because of Scientology. That's it. And after a while, you go, this is bullshit. No, it's good because I fixed it. You know what I mean? And or it's bad because we screwed up. But they can never take responsibility for that. Not ever. I think John Travolta is legit. He has just caught up with the wrong crowd. Yeah. I don't even think he's caught up with the wrong crowd. I think he doesn't really hang with them. Do you know what I mean? He's got his own house and his own airstrip and airplanes, and he's doing well. He really is. I'm very impressed with how he is. All right. What did 49ers for not life say? I love how Sunshine believes they could handle national disasters, but they run away from protest. That is funny. That's very. That would make a good T-shirt, wouldn't it? That would make a good T-shirt. I think John Travolta. Okay, we did that. That's a good one. 49ers for life. Eric, question: if someone in Scientology wants to leave the Blue Building or any of the buildings in Scientology that's in Hollywood, would you help them out and drive them to where they need to go? Sure. I've mentioned that many, many times. I have my phone number, which is right here. And if they can't see it, they can call this number and I'll get it, or they can send me a text. And that's also right under Tori Magoo 44. More about Tori, and that number's in there. Okay, so this is real. David M. should test Chat GPT capabilities and ask it to create OT9. No, don't say that. Don't suggest that. No, because they will. And Chat GPT will be able to come up with some more bullshit. Oh, God. Don't say that. Don't say that. No. Because they'll just rip off the people that are in there for more money. I am a Scientologist campaign actually real people, or are they actors? Are those people? I don't know. They're probably real people. That's my guess. But I'm not going to say that again, Aaron. No one real. Okay, yeah, I think they're real. Tension Tamer. Know about you for years, never knew about your husband. Sorry, such a bull. Well, it was, he wasn't in on all the stuff I was. They very cleverly do that so that I was in on all this dark stuff. He was not. And I think they knew, and I said that early on when I married him. I wrote in my diary that he has very low courage because we moved to Clearwater and they had hundreds of people honk out Scientology, save sparkling Clearwater, stamp out Scientology. And he was really afraid of them. And so they sent me out to handle it. And I did. But he wouldn't come. He was like, no. Those are SPs. No, I'm not going to be around them. And I thought, that's from when he was a little kid. Hubbard came up with that PTSSP stuff way back when he was little. And I think Hubbard was really afraid. Because, see, what happened was they started out as Dianeticists, right? And they were just reading Dianetics and doing Dianetics together. And then a bunch of them, well, some of them started to leave. And then he started the Church of Scientology. And then a ton of them left because they said, we didn't get into this for a church. No, this isn't a religion. We're not doing it. We're out of here. So I think then, and this is when my husband was very young, he started the PTSSP, and it was sort of like a line, and it's like if you cross that line, You will never be free. And that's Hubbard's whole thing. You'll get sick, and it's just you'll get worse and worse and worse. So he kind of probably grew up with that, and he was just like, I don't want to be around that. Whereas I joined Scientology, and they sent me right to ethics, saying she has epilepsy, so she's PTS. And so they showed me the policies. And back then, Hubbard had it where you had to do all these different steps. And then if you couldn't handle the person, then you got declared SP. Do you see what I mean? And so they decided my mom was the SP because she was anti-Scientology, because they were trying to get me off my medicine. So they wanted me to, do all this stuff. And I said, I'm not going to disconnect from my mom. No. So they said, okay, then you can just do good roads and fair weather. And that's what we did. And it worked out great. It actually did. I know a lot of people are against it, but for us and my brothers who were never in Scientology, they said that is brilliant, because she got into really, finding out little things about us, and then she'd use it against us. So they said, this way she can't get any information. It's really good. Bullshit cult. Yep, you got that one right. Question, 49ers for life. Do you think you still would have went OT? No. The vast majority of people that are OT, I mean, there are some people that think they're OT, and I'm not going to say they're not, because that's an individual thing. But do I? No. I mean, any OT abilities I already had from Buddhism and Taoism from early on, studying Eastern religions. And no, Scientology doesn't have the tools, I don't think, to help someone get any higher powers at all. I mean, they had that guy that offered $1 million for years until he died, if you could show him some higher powers, some proof. No Scientologist ever went, not ever. Yeah, might refuse, hopefully. Yeah, let's hope so. I didn't mean that David should do it, just crazy that it could happen. Yep, ChatGPT is telling many people that they are prophets. Wow, it's landing people in the psych ward? Really love it? Oh, how awful. Oof. Could Christy Alley have beaten her colon cancer if she had not relied on Scientology beliefs and gotten medical help sooner? It's hard to tell, but a lot of Scientologists die because they do not get medical help early enough. So she could be one. I don't know. I think she eventually got medical help, but it probably was too late. Sieglin, 49ers for life. There's no OT. Hubbard didn't even come close. Exactly. That's the way I feel. It's like, no. Question, since Harold was so afters, Harold was so afters, I'd of SPs, wasn't he bothered that you were PTS? You have to rewrite that, because that doesn't make sense. Afters, I'd of SPs. I know they probably changed it, but read it so that I know what you're actually asking. But no, I don't know, maybe it did. I don't know. He never said anything about it bothering it. But now he's got up in writing, supposedly, this letter that, Tori wanted to get off her medicine. It's like bullshit. He lived with me for years where it was just tortured by that stuff. What did your family think when you told them you joined? They were seriously bummed, but you have to remember, we lived in Park Ridge. That was my favorite home in Chicago. It's a suburb of Chicago. Then in my sophomore year in high school, my parents decided to move to Lake Forest and build their dream house. And so I lost all of my Park Ridge friends because it was just too far to stay in touch. And so at that point, I just became a complete rebel. I just went nuts. And I'll admit it. I mean, I really became an avid rebel in many, many ways. So they had been through a lot of stuff with me. And then they decided to send me away to nothing could have been worse for me, a girls' Catholic boarding school. So now I'm in with all these nuns they were on the lower, we were the fourth floor, the boarding girls. And then we would get on a bus and go out to the high school that was out somewhere else. And I hated it. I really hated it. But that ended up being a mess. So that was a mess they lived through. Then I went to college. Then I got epilepsy at 18. Then I went to college. Then I quit college, moved to New York City. Then from New York City, moved to San Francisco and became a hippie. And then from being a hippie, got sick. And so I went back to Lake Forest. And that's where the guys gave me the Dianetics book. So, what did they think when I joined? First of all, I didn't say I'm joining Scientology. I had a fight with my dad, which I'd never had before. And he said, it's our moral. He said, go to bed, Tori. It's 10:30 at night. I'm a night owl. I'm not going to bed at 10:30. And I said, Dad, I'm in college. And he said, no, it's our morals or no school. Well, I didn't want to do school anymore. I'd already read the Dianetics book and I thought, screw it. I'm just going to go be a Dianetic auditor. Because I just knew I would never make it through 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, and internships. But if you're thinking of doing that, do it. Because later I thought I should have just stuck in there, instead of this stupid cult shit. But anyway, I didn't. And I wrote on my mirror, your morals are no school, screw you. And I packed my bag and I hitchhiked from Chicago to LA, which for people that aren't in this area, it's a long way to hitchhike. It's half the country. It's half the country of the United States of America by myself in 1969. So I didn't talk to them for a long time. Not real long, because Scientology was really big on, we don't do drugs. So that ended me doing drugs. And we were really big on family. So I was like, okay. So I called my parents and we became, we connected back up because I learned about ARC, Affinity, Reality, and Communication. And Hubbard said communication is the universal solvent. So if you have an upset, you have to find out which one of those points in a triangle, affinity, reality, or communication, is out. And then just, use the other two to build it back up. So anyway, I did. And my mom later, before she died, she said, I hated Scientology, but I will always be happy that you got off drugs because of Scientology. I mean, I wasn't really a druggie. I was sort of like a social drug addict in the 60s. I mean, I wasn't an addict. I was just like a person doing drugs, wherever I was. if we're going to do this, I'll do it. That's how I was. And, we were at all the concerts and bands and stuff like that. So it was a fun time. But I got back in touch with them, but my mom said, A, you got off drugs, and B, you got back in touch with us as a family. And that I'll always be thankful for. So that was good. Question, since Harold was so afraid of SPs, didn't it bother him that you were No, he always thought it was sort of horse shit too. You know what I mean? It's like I had epilepsy. It wasn't because of my mother. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. I didn't have epilepsy because of my mother. It's something that I got at 18. It's a physical illness, right? And he knew that too. So he did. So the PTS thing is a different thing. Like if somebody's falling all the time, okay, they're probably PTS. So you could look around, all right, who am I connected to that I'm always tripping or falling or sneezing or, I have a cold or stuff like that. And then, oh yeah, this person's been haggling me for months. All right, get rid of them. Don't keep hanging around with them. James Randi. Yeah, that's right, Sieglin. Thank you. James Randi. He's the guy that offered $1 million for anyone, anywhere, that could prove higher powers. And nobody ever took him up on it. I don't know if nobody ever took him up on it, but nobody proved it. While OT8 addresses the being's relationship to the truth about one's ultimate identity and responsibilities. OT9 expands this ability to act with full causation over the dynamics simultaneously. Good Lord. Now, where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from? OT8 addresses the being's relationship to the truth about one's ultimate identity and responsibilities. I don't think that's true. I talked to the girl who was in charge of correction of OT8, and she called me. She left. And I said, why did you leave? What got you to leave? And she said, Tori, so many OT8s are either sick, really sick, or dead, or they've killed themselves. And I just couldn't support it anymore. And I said, I know, I do. OT9 expands this ability to act with full causation over all dynamics. That's such bullshit. I can't even believe it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that to you, but it makes me want to throw up. I mean, that was the kind of stuff that it sounds so like, oh, that'll really work. No, it doesn't. If anybody could do anything like she said, why would they be running away from protesters that are standing outside? Why do they shut the door on them? They're full of it. I think it's easier to see for her in all caps. I think it's easier for her. No, it's just because I couldn't see it because it's like whoever's running this, you know how you can type something and they change it, and that's what happened. It got changed, so it wasn't making sense. Lovett retyped it, and I could see it fine. I can see it fine. What I meant to ask is, would you still have paid to go up the bridge if you didn't have epilepsy? Weren't you trying to handle? No, I wasn't trying to handle epilepsy. I got into Scientology to help other people. That's what I wanted to do. I joined the Sea Org, and out on a ship in LA Harbor, I ran out of my medicine. And so there, I said, look, I've got to get a refill of my medicine for epilepsy. And they sent me down to the MLO. And this 18-year-old kid said, well, we're the top 10% of the planet. We don't take medicine, which 10 years later, Ken Hoden and his wife, who ran the church, took me in session and said, we're really sorry. We should have never done that to you. We apologize. But, I had this all through when I was in Scientology. I'm this, I'm that, whatever. But I wasn't trying to handle it. They said, you have to handle it. We're going to put you on a program to handle epilepsy, which was Dianetics and vitamins. And they got me off the ship. And now these really creepy women said, well, you have, because you wrote your contract for the Sea Org, you owe $100,000. And I said, listen to me very carefully. I don't owe you anything. If I need to, I'm going to take you to court because you broke my contract. I didn't break your contract. And I want a piece of paper and a pencil because I'm going to write to the one man that I know is sane. Which I told that to CFI, which is Center for Inquiry, I think it's Center for Inquiry. It's skeptics. And I told them that, and the whole place burst out laughing. I never thought of that. They said it's just so funny that you would think L. Ron Hubbard was the one sane man on the planet. But anyway, I wrote to him and said, look, I have epilepsy, blah, blah, blah. Now they're trying to charge me $100,000. And he wrote me back and he said, you don't owe $100,000. You owe for staff status 1 and 2, which are 2 little courses that you've done. Pay those, continue auditing, and when you get it handled, you can come back in the Sea Org. So the only reason I was trying to handle epilepsy was so I could go back in the Sea Org. But it wasn't on my determinism. Do you see what I mean? It was because L. Ron Hubbard said I had to. I thought, okay, he said I have to. I'll try to. But, it didn't work, and I wasn't trying to handle it. I mean, I was because I had to go back in the Sea Org. And the only reason I wanted to go back in the seer is so I could full-time help other people, which is why I got in Scientology. I don't know why. It seems like it's complicated, but it isn't really. Love it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Too many typos, so you rewrote it. Yeah, I got it. Once you rewrote it, it was fine. We don't want people getting into the all caps thing. Now, yeah, I can see fine. It was just because it was goofed. You know how they jumble stuff up. I don't know who they is, but whatever the machines are. OT9 disentanglement drills through precision processes, locate and separate from those life continuum connections that are not of your own creation, but which still dictate action or thought. Where are you getting this stuff from? You've got to still be in Scientology, Glenn. Are you? I am who you say I am. Love it. Okay. Talked about multi-beam intention for OT9. It doesn't matter. If they have to run from people that are from TikTok, who gives a shit about all this intention and beaming and all this other crap? They can't do it. If they could do it, our world wouldn't be, if there were OTs at all, from OT1 through OT8, if there were any, our world would not be in the absolute disaster that it is. It is a mess. And so it's proof that they don't have OTs. If they had OTs, they'd be able to fix shit, and they can't. They'd be able to keep people in Scientology, and they can't. David Miscavige can't do shit except buy buildings now. That's all he's doing. So, no. Back when you joined, I assume no one even knew what Scientology was, and no internet to even, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 69. Remember, the internet didn't really get going until in the 90s. So 69, it was a party. It was fun. It was a whole different thing. I mean, a whole different thing. And you can say that to people, but they can't really imagine it. But Spanky and I always talk about it. We're going to do a video one time about that time of our lives, because it was just so different. Nice job there, Glenn Payne. AI is certainly interesting, if not a bit scary. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. See. Thank you, Eric. Okay, Valerie Watkins, hi. You were brave no matter what life threw at you and remained happy. I admire that. I'm not that brave. Well, you're here. That's good. That's good. That's a sign of bravery. I think we're all more braver than we think. I do. It's just a matter of persisting and continuing on despite whatever. Just take it up. Like Ida used to tell me, Ida Camburn, if you ever get a chance, Google Ida Camburn, IDA, and then Camburn. And I did an interview with her, and she used to call me every day. And she'd say, she was 80 in her 80s. And she'd say, just take it one day at a time, Tori. That's all you can do. And that's a good lesson. It really is. Oh, God, Erica. All right. Of course, you were that brave, Laura Valerie Watkins. Hi, Moon and Stars. Hope everyone is doing well. I think we are. Era 23. Yep. Can generate almost anything. Chat can. All right. Hi there, Moon and Stars. Sieglin, hello. Oh, okay. Sorry. OT 9 and 10 should be about frequency healing. Were you ever in no one? Just curious. And Glenn Payne, were you in? Chat GPT wrote that OT9 garbage story, not me. Didn't mean to trigger. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it does. It really does. It's like I spent so many years hearing that bullshit. And it's just like to have someone regurgitate it. It's like, ugh, I don't care if they wrote it. It's like, I don't want it on my site because you know what happens? People read it and they think it's true. It's amazing how susceptible we are. Like I put up that thing, I showed you the thing with Jamie DeWolf, who's L. Ron Hubbard's great grandson. And he did that whole thing where he, it's like half the room was forks and half the room was knives. And, he'd say, do this, do that. And at the end, he was going to have a big party. And he said, whoever wins, whoever does the most right, they're going to get to come to the party. So a lot of us did it. And at the end, he just burst out laughing and he said, there's no party. I just wanted to show you guys, because he invited a lot of people that were like, oh, you guys are so stupid. How could you ever get into a cult? So he invited a lot of those people that we knew. And they all did it adamantly. And he said, I just wanted to show you how fast someone can get affected by mind control. And that's what happened. He said, there's no party. There's nothing. I just wanted to show you guys that. Doing great here, Moon and Stars. How about you? Scientology doesn't believe in autism and other disabilities since I have high functioning autism. Exactly. And they wouldn't recognize that at all. And they wouldn't help you either. I am who you say I am, doing great. But you know what, Eric? You're doing great. By whatever you're doing great. And I'm really proud of you. I am. Question. Did you think that if you didn't have epilepsy, you would have OT powers? No. You really have not listened to any of my videos or me? You've been with me 49ers for life. It's okay that you asked me that. It is, because I'm happy, even if you do know it and you know the answer to it, which I don't think you do. But just so you really, really understand it, no, I didn't. I never thought, oh, if I didn't have epilepsy, I'd have OT powers. I looked around. I'm a person who'll look around and go, okay, let's see, there's 50 people that are OT. None of them can do anything that is OT. They don't have any illnesses or anything. They're just OT. But they can't do shit. So to me, it was sort of this constant acknowledgement that it didn't work. It didn't work for me. I knew that. But I couldn't really talk to anybody about it. But I knew it didn't work for me. But I didn't think it was because I had epilepsy. I just thought it was like, because it didn't work for anybody else either. Everybody else I was around would be like, well, I'm doing the next level. And oh yeah, well, I have to do the next level. And I have to do the next level. And then the next level after that. And then the next level after that. It just keeps going. So, no, to answer that, unquestionably, did I think that if you didn't have epilepsy, you would have OT powers? I have OT powers. If you want to call them OT powers, they're higher powers, and they're not from Scientology at all. And I knew it when I joined, and they never got any different. They didn't get more. I mean, they might have expanded a bit, but it's not because of Scientology. It was because of different things that I learned before I ever even got into Scientology from my parents. And I told you that. Remember, I told you about me handling the critics and asking Laurel Sullivan, who was the PR for L. Ron Hubbard's ship. And I said, I don't get it. I'm like, I've had a lot of success getting rid of these people. And I watched the OSIS people go out there and it's like, what are your crimes? What are your overts? And she looked at me and she goes, you never did the LRHPR course, did you? And I said, no, I really didn't. At that moment, all the time before then, and this was After I left Scientology, I met Laurel. But all the time when I was in Scientology, I would be just like probably Tom Cruise, John Travolta, thinking the skills I had were because of Scientology, because that's what they're always telling you, right? Oh, because I did that. That's why I can do it. But all of a sudden, when she said, "You didn't do the PR course, did you?" And I said, "No, I didn't." And then I realized, oh, yeah, I've had these abilities since my parents. That's where I got them from. And she said, exactly. We who did the L. Ron Hubbard PR Tech were kicked out of every single port in the world that we used it in. There you go. Way to go, Osa. Did they take Tylenol or over-the-counter medicine, or is that not allowed either? Hi, Christy. I didn't, and I should have because I had massive migraine headaches, but they wouldn't really, that was kind of against the law when I was in. But I think now I don't know, they may have opened it up a little bit. I don't know. Glenn, you are a Scientologist? You still are. Okay. Okay. So that explains a lot. Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. All right, Chat GPT generalities, realistic blabber in the style of Hubbard. Yeah, but do me a favor, Glenn, and if you're here, please don't keep spouting these things that, unless you can come on here and show us proof. If you can show us proof, you are welcome to come on and talk about it. But if it's just to pitch whatever you think Chat GPT came up with, please don't. Because I know people will hear it and think it's true, and it's not. You have no proof, none. And I know you don't because I was in Scientology for 30 years and nobody could ever prove it. So, but I respect if you want to keep doing it, that's up to you. That's your choice. All right. LRH claimed that they could make the able more able. He didn't want to mess with stuff that he clearly couldn't handle and make. That's what he started with, Sieglin. You're right with that. That was it. And those were the things that kind of, the beginning things were kind of cool. Like, remember, I don't know if you've ever read the thing about a world without crime and a world without war, where a good man, can survive well. I can't remember the whole quote, but it's a really cool quote. And I thought, I'm for that. Yeah, that's what I'm for. But they're not like for that at all. The church isn't. No. OT9 explains why Scientologists love sunglasses and cigarettes. I think that started way before OT9, dear. Era 23, at least as realistic as the crazy babble. Okay, Mike Money on. Okay, Chat GPT creates better Scientology than DM. You should make a t-shirt for that. That would be good to have as a t-shirt in front of the testing center. I wonder if they even know what Chat GPT is, though. They probably don't, now that I think of it. I'm not in Scientology. Chat GPT over here writing OT9 garbage like the below. Okay. Good to know, Glenn. I thought you said I am. So that's why I thought, okay. Hi, I gotta head out now. I am who you say I am. Bye. Thanks for streaming. Thanks, chat. I hope everyone stays cool this weekend, or this week. Yeah, you too. Don't boil to death. And if anybody is like really overheated, they do have air-conditioned areas like the library you can go to. I went to the mall just to get some perfume, but it wasn't that cool. It really wasn't. I couldn't wait to get back to my car because it has good air conditioning. But they do have areas if you need it. Expected end OT9. Okay, I'm not going to read this again. I'm not. No. See ya. I am who? Ida. Did you know Ida? She was a wonderful person. She really was. I just and she was the person who could kick ass. I was out at her little, you know, like she was like in one of the a trailer, but two trailers, so it was like a big house. And we were out there and we were protesting by Hemet, and she lived right by there. And up came the Sea Org lady onto her porch, and she said, "Get there!" And she was a little tiny lady, but she was powerful. She said, "Get the hell off my porch and don't ever come back." And she had these big Xenu signs all over her porch and everything. She was something else. I just asked ChatGPT to create Scientology's OT9, and it literally said, I can't create or provide Scientology's actual OT9 materials because those are copyrighted and closely held by CMS. What a bunch of bull. Where? Yes, we had lunch. Oh, okay. Well, when it says no one, it's hard for me. You know me, I'm bad with names as it is, even if you have a name. But no one, that's difficult. At the barbecue place, and my relative talked with you and drove us. Okay, cool. Yeah. Sieglin, hi there, no one. Good to see you here. You too, Sieg. Hey, Heidi. Hey, Queen Tori. Greetings from Germany. Wow. Always a joy to listen to you. Thank you. Yeah, we were just talking about Germany. There was something that you guys had that I was telling. My son loves Germany. He had a girlfriend there, and he's really big on Germany. And I want to go, but I haven't been able to go yet. But there something happened, and the Germans put it together, and it was on our news. And I told him about it, and he goes, "Yeah, they're ahead of us all the time." You forget me. Oh, I'm sorry, but I am on and off the lives. I'm not always awake. Are you in Chicago? No one? Can you tell me that? Because then I know who you are. It's okay though, because you always get so happy when I think I figured out who you are. It's one of our mutual friends that the first name starts with a K. 50 people that are OT, none can do anything in 3. Julius Caesar. That is a great quote too, Erica. That's perfect. Thank you. Oh, and I met 2 of the 3 personally. How's that? And we can get good parking spaces whenever we want to. Intended. That's always their big OT. That's their proof that they're OTs. They can get good parking spaces. Or I was on the freeway and I made a car move over. Proof. So true. Okay, and they also write funny OT levels. All right. After the toaster incident, purpose achieved full causation over the electronic, mechanical, and passive aggressive devices in your immediate environment. That's funny. Appliance confront drill. Stare at the device without flinching until it turns on and acknowledges your. I can't handle this. I'm not going to read anymore. Sorry. Glenn, good one. Your OT powers are from your personality and genuine nature from exploring life and wisdom from age. All right. Well, thank you. Ooh. I know you're talking about Tori. We all can tap into higher powers, but it's not fantasy land like a cult will say. The answers are out in the real world, found in everything. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was studying Buddhism and Taoism before I ever got in Scientology. Benevolent Queen, you made it. All right. Hi. Aaron G. The mall with a fan. I know. if anybody missed it, I was telling him I got this beautiful fan at a wedding shower. And today I had it in the mall, and you could tell people are like, "Oh yeah, fans," because we were all hot. It was, they didn't have air conditioning on, so it was hot. And I got out my little fan, and I'm like fanning away, and I'm like, good, and they're all like, "Ooh, fans!" And you can buy them on Amazon, just so you know, if you want to get them. I think you get a pack of 4 or something for nothing. They're really inexpensive. I didn't know but I saw the videos of her in the interview, and she seemed sweet. Maybe my family knew her. Oh, okay. Does Scientology have any unique views on diet? Good question. Well, they're constantly eating because the meter doesn't really work. This is my interpretation. It doesn't really work. It didn't for me. So they would say, you know what? I don't think you ate enough. Because, they always check, did you have enough sleep? Yes, I did. I always make sure to have enough sleep. So then they go, okay, did you have enough to eat? Okay, well, why don't we take a break and you go eat? I gained 100 pounds in Scientology, and I've lost it and kept it off for 15 years. I'm really proud to say, and that's from Weight Watchers. But people are on all kinds of diets all the time in Scientology. And multi-level marketing, too. That's the other thing. Yeah, Kay from Chicago texted you. I know who it is. I got it. All right, no one. Good. I'm here in Cali. They're back in Chicago. Are you near me? We could get together. Send me your phone number and we'll get together. I think you have mine. Tension Tamer. I've never been close to Scientology, just watched and read an unhealthy amount about it. And every single time I just end up remembering LRH was just such a bad writer. His writing literally ruined lives. Yeah, true. AI says that Scientology claims that OT 9 and 10 would be released after the churches would be sufficiently upgraded. That's the old Scientology catch. They've always said that the golden age of tech and this and that, and the Sea Org will all get all their bridges if they get that was one of the things in the 90s. If they get every org up to St. Hill size, then every Sea Org member will get every piece of the bridge. Bullshit. You never gave them any of it. That was a flat out lie. And why people stay when they know Scientology lied through their teeth. David Miscavige lied through his teeth. He didn't deliver that, even though people did get their orgs up to St. Hill size. Didn't get it for him. And that sucks. It really does. That's like really mean. You need those fans in the heat. I know. That's a nice wedding, isn't it? I thought it was really, and I don't know if you missed it, no one, but the other thing was that she had tons. I mean, like, think of a whole room full of flowers, just fresh flowers and in long stem flowers. And you could go around and make your own bouquet, whether small or big. Everybody had different bouquets. So you made your own bouquet of flowers, and then you got fans. And the original ones, I think these were ones that I think I bought these from Amazon. But the fan at the wedding shower we decorated. So they had pens and stuff like that. They were just white fans, and you decorate them. So that was fun, and that got me into fans again, because I've kind of always been into fans, but I wanted a new one, so I looked on Amazon, and they had this pack of 4, and they're really pretty, and they're easy. They're easy to carry around, and they really help when it's hot. I think I may have OT powers. My TV randomly turned on this morning by itself without Scientology. There you go. Yep. There you go. All right, OT 9 and 10 also to 15 do not exist in the corporate Scientology. Some non-corporate Scientology has made up some levels. Yeah, that's happened years ago. I have OT 9 10 and 11 paid for in the church. Great. Yeah, I know. The fans again. I know, it's fun. All right, well, we've been on for an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you guys who came. I appreciate it. It's been fun chatting with you. Does anybody have any comments or questions before I end? Erica, I have to find the link to send you next time, Tori, but 3 people went to St. Hill, England to ask for their money back, and the CEO couldn't kick them off the property because they had lifelong paid memberships. Interesting. Fans in the Victorian age used to be used to communicate. They had social rules that fan movements meant. Really? Wow, that I gotta look that up in Google. That's interesting, Erin. Thank you. Yeah, cool, Erica. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for coming on. Tonight is what? Monday night. So the next time I'll be on will be Wednesday night. So there you go. So anyway, in the meantime, peace out. Have a good night, friends. Thank you, June. You too. All of you. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful day tomorrow. And remember, if you're too hot, go somewhere where it's air conditioned, because they have all kinds of places for you. All right. I love you guys. Thank you.